Good evening, race fans. On a Monday night, we come to you from one of the warmer places in the country, at least if you're actually down in sunny Florida. Homestead Miami Speedway, site of the 6th round of the 2014-2015 RSR Icebreaker Winter Series here on LSRTV. Jacob Seelman and Evan Pasoko live in the broadcast booth as we get set to bring you all the action. Just 3 races to go, including tonight, for these guys as they count down to Speed Weeks and the start of the major portion of the 2015 season for RealSimRacing.com's efforts on the iRacing Sim. And Evan, I have a inkling that this race is going to be slightly exciting tonight. There's a few reasons I like Homestead Miami Speedway. Number 1, it's really racy. Number 2, it's really fast. And number 3, usually there's a few surprises along the way.
As always, we have some of the drivers that we expect to be fast. They're up there, but some of them back in the pack as well. Homestead is the only 1.5 track that is legitimately an oval. No tri-oval, no quad-oval in this one. A very unique surface, and I guess the rumor around is that Daytona was rather exciting 2 weeks ago, and now we get down to after tonight. A little bit exciting at the end there. Out of tonight, only 2 races will remain in this 8-race championship as well, so the points are very close up at the top of that, which means that if you have a mistake tonight or in these next 2 races, could be big implications from that. So a lot of pressure, a decent amount at least, on these guys that are fighting for that championship.
And that main guy that's fighting for the championship right now, 4th on the qualifying sheets, Evan. E.J. O'Rourke, the championship leader coming into this. And that 23 car has been so consistent over the course of this Winter Series so far. Got 1 win and just has been very strong in the top 5 virtually every single race. And, you know, they're coming down to it. But David Comstock, Dwayne Vincent, they'd like to see that 23 falter down the stretch here so they can get back in this championship fight. It's not over by any stretch, but if that 23 keeps doing what he's been doing, I don't see anybody that really can stop him at this point. He's just been so consistent, it's almost scary. I think I called it once the Ken Schrader rule. If you can't win every week, just top 5 and top 10 them to death.
And those 3 are so close up the top. You talk about top 10s, 5 top 10s for E.J. O'Rourke. Leads the rest of the drivers. An interesting thing to note is Comstock and Vincent, 2nd and 3rd in points, both have 4 top 5s and 4 top 10s. So if they're up there, they're really up there. If they're not, they're having a little bit of an off race. O'Rourke, a little bit of a different story with 5 top 10s, but only 3 top 5s. So there's the consistency that you were talking about. But all 3 of these drivers have 1 trip to victory lane. You put that thing, when you be the first one to the checkered flag at the end of the night, it's going to be very crucial. Bonus points as well, max points night possibly, leading most laps, things like that you need to do if you're a Comstock. Only 5 points back. Dwayne Vincent only 7 points back. A small buffer for these top 3 till you get to Doug Roth, who's 26 back, Stefan Baranek, who's 29 back. Those drivers not mathematically eliminated by any means, but they would have to hope for O'Rourke, Comstock, Vincent, as you just said, the falter, which we haven't seen them really do yet this year, but so close. Still 3 races to go. It's a lot of time, and there's a lot of different things that can happen in that time period, but right now, at least appearing to be a 3-car showdown, but they have to be out here and they have to deal with what's going to be, besides them, probably 32 other cars once everybody gets to the green flag tonight that are going to play a factor in how many points those guys are able to do, and possibly, unfortunately, a part of race it is. Sometimes those cars determine the fate.
That's exactly right, Evan. I mean, you've got 3 cars in a championship fight, but you've got about 30 others that could play an outcome in that fight, and that's what makes this so different than so many other sports, Evan, is that usually you've got 2 teams going up against one another. Instead, now you've got 32 teams, in this case, going up against one another, and 3 or 4 of them with a shot to win the big prize. So it's going to be interesting to see how this shakes out. We're done with qualifying, and how about a margin of 2 1/1000ths of a second? Bobby Terrell going to be the one leading him to the green flag tonight with a lap of 32.739. Brian Macklin, a 32.741, will share the front row, and the top 4, Evan, within 2 100ths of a second of one another. You don't think this is going to be a little bit of an exciting race, do you?
And that's also reflected in practice times, and the drivers are even making comments on it, that these lap times are so close, actually closer in qualifying than they were in practice, all the way through what's going to be 20th position are within 0.2 of a second of our race leader, Bobby Terrell. That's a lot of cars that are very even, and they're going to have quite an opportunity tonight to kind of feel their machines out for 125 laps around this Homestead Miami Speedway before we really get into the action there late in the going. So we're going to see comers, we're going to see goers as always, but a lot of people that are very close, which leads to a very competitive race and one that's going to put that much more of an emphasis on limiting mistakes and try to be as close to perfect as possible if you want to be able to stay up front and be in contention for what everybody wants, and that is the hardware and the checkered flag at the end of the night.
That's absolutely right, and let's take a look at the Gary Mercer Trucking starting lineup for tonight's Homestead Miami round, 1.5 miles in length, and somewhere in the realm of 32 cars taking the green flag tonight. Bobby Terrell, we mentioned him, he's on the pole. Brian Macklin in the 30 alongside, and in row 2, two of Macklin's teammates, David Comstock in the 20 starts third. E.J. O'Rourke, the points leader, rolls fourth.
Next row, row 3, starting 5th is the 55 of Dan Murray on the inside of that. Alongside him, another hot rod, the 11, that's going to be Jonathan Caddell.
Starting 7th tonight, going to be the 9, Dwayne Vincent, the Napa Chevrolet, and alongside him in row number 4, the 4 machine, that's Scott Simley.
The Energizer Camaro entry of Ralph Nolan Jr. will roll from P9 and make up the inside of row 5, and rounding out the top 10, the 21, that's Matt Lacrosse.
Row 6 tonight going to be inhabited by the 47. That's Sean Brightsman on the inside to the outside. The 24 sports some new colors this week. Stefan Marinac rolls 12.
Mike Montesi, the 31 Ford, going to be on the inside of the next row, and 13th alongside him, the Rue Motorsports entry, the 19 of Garrett Atwell.
Behind Atwell tonight going to be the 60. John Higman Jr. rolls from the inside of row 8 in 15th, and Jimmy North to the outside starts 6th in the 84.
William Kempf will roll the Miller White Ford from 17th position at number 22 car. Alongside him, Nathan Little in 18th.
19th tonight going to go to the 82, Jamie Moore. Rounding out the top 20, the 56, that's Wyatt Wolf.
Rich Jett will roll from 21st, and 22nd, J. Randall Watkins.
23rd, Doug Roth, the 43, the Petty Colors, and 24th, the 29, Brennan Mercer.
Jason Lester, the number 92 car, will start 25th, 26th to Billy Hendricks.
27th, Saunders, the other Rue Motorsports entry, 28th to the 77, Sherry Ann Mills, and the last car to take time on the inside of row 15, the 97, that's Josh Morgan.
5 drivers will enter this field without a qualifying time. Ronnie Potts, scheduled for 30th, is not currently on the racetrack. Roger Wagner will line up in 31st. 32nd, Ed Williams Jr. LD Sarabia get a start from 33rd. And 34th to Stephen Herring. Keeping an eye, the 6 machine still not on track, may be electing to start from pit road or may have a little bit of an issue and may not make the start of this race. So currently 33 of them on track.
And this race tonight going to be 125 laps. That's going to be just under 200 miles here tonight. And of course, as we mentioned, the field going to be led by the 14 of Bobby Terrell and the 30 of Brian Macklin. That's the front row. Pace car makes the hard left turn to pit road. We're glad you're with us on LSRTV. The American Ethanol green flag flies. It's going to be Macklin getting the advantage on the start. Wiggles a little bit down the front straightaway. And as they head to turn 1 for the first time, it's wheel to wheel, but that shove by David Comstock trying to give Bobby Terrell the lead. They're wheel to wheel for the top spot. Off turn 2 for the first time. I think Terrell's going to have the advantage.
He's got him just about by a car length. The runoff of 2 by the 30 of Brian Macklin's going to be able to let him to keep that nose just at that right rear of that 14. You see challenging up on the high side. David Comstock, first car in line down low. And now Terrell will be able to get clear of that 30 FedEx entry, slide up to the outside wall, which makes that battle now for second position. Comstock, who started third, battling with the car that started second, as it's there right now. Still him and Macklin going at it door to door. First little bit of a cluster of cars was back around 9th position. A couple people got checked up on the start, but nothing major coming from that. Everybody rather patient for the circumstances on the start of this one.
Yeah, I think patience a great word to use, Evan. And Comstock clear for second. The battle for third now is going to be between the 55 of Dan Murray and the 30 of Brian Macklin. Those two going at it, and Macklin going backwards on that outside lane, which is usually the lane of choice here at Homestead, Evan. So the question is going to be, how long is that inside lane going to work here tonight?
A little bit of trouble in 3 at the 95. The Energizer entry of Ralph Nolan Jr. just entered the corner a little bit high, and because of the way that safer barrier jets out into 3, kind of got stuck in the fence about halfway through that section of corners. Actually went 4 wide as the 24, 41, and the 82 went to split him, but nobody else going to get caught up in that one as everybody was able to make the proper evasive action. So Ralph Nolan Jr. going to have to get back at it. Started top 10, way back to 32nd spot.
That's a tough break, and I'm watching the battle for the lead, Evan. Now to the outside for the lead in turns 1 and 2. Comstock going topside, got the fender right to the quarter panel, but wiggles off turn 2 and can't hold it down there. So Terrell going to keep the lead. But with that being said, and a little bit of change up in lines, I'll go back to my original question now before we had some of the trouble. How long is this bottom lane going to work tonight? So many times we've seen the high lane be the lane of choice here at Homestead, but that's not always the case.
And you got to attribute it to that progressive banking, just very slightly 18 to 20 degrees of progressive banking in comparison to the high side, and you're seeing the 20 trying to challenge up high. Now, additionally, Bobby Terrell made the pass on second place. Look at the crossover by David Comstock to the bottom, and just like that, going to get that inside spot. Initially, it was Terrell who made the pass for the lead, or rather defended it over second place runner at that time, Brian Macklin, but as soon as he did that, he went up to the high side. Same deal with that 20 machine. Comstock makes the pass down low, jumps back up high, so they're testing the waters. But it looks like Comstock really liked that inside line there. He kind of dabbed to the waters a couple of times up high, didn't work, at a beautiful crossover that last time by, going to put him to P1.
Yeah, and I think that right there was a case of Bobby Terrell seeing that dive bomb move coming and basically thinking, okay, if you want to play those games 5 laps into this race, I'm not going to argue with you. I'll give you the spot and we'll race for it later. I think that's a veteran move right there, and I think that was really gutsy by David Comstock to try and pull a move that much on the offensive this early. That was really risky by that 20 machine, and he's lucky it paid off the way it did with the lead.
But he knows he's going to like that Monster Energy machine up in clean air, at least in theory. That's the way this would work. You see right behind him, Bobby Terrell. One more car back is bad news for Comstock. Even worse news for E.J. O'Rourke, who enters tonight as the points leader by 5 and 7 points over Comstock and Vincent, respectively, who now sits in 7th position. Dwayne Vincent up 4 to be able to sit P3 right now, and he's challenging. He's probably going to follow the 14th through here as Bobby Terrell was able to take a peek to the inside on David Comstock. That one out of 4, nothing comes from that, but the top 3 all over each other's bumper. Less than half a car length separate them. So Comstock and Vincent know how key it is to try to get up there, and again, especially for the 20 who sits in the race lead right now, but again, still very early on, but in this 125 lap event, bonus points from leading the most laps, at least getting 1 bonus point for leading the lap, can be so crucial when the championship and the top 3 are within 10 points of each other.
Yeah, and we saw how close it was coming down to the wire in the Full Throttle Cup Series chase to make some of those elimination rounds. So you talk about every point and every race mattering. It's true, and it's very true here as well, because you've only got 8 races. You really, Evan, haven't been able to afford a mistake all season long, and we saw that from Dwayne Vincent, who had a bit of a mistake in one of his races, kind of had a mulligan, and I found it impressive the way that 9 machine has been able to claw back.
You see a little bit of a side-by-side right here with Dan Murray and Jonathan Cadell, but consistency, again, this is shorter than essentially the chase. Only 8 races in this one. You know, you talk about over the race of a season, and some series include, you know, drop weeks. None here. You got 8 races. You got to work with it. What you got to do is you can't afford a mulligan, and it's shown that these top 3 in the points have been perfect so far. Now, we talked about the fact that unlike any other sport, there's other cars involved in this. We're not just with 3 guys out there running by themselves. A perfect example of that right now is Bobby Terrell, who splits up our 2nd and 3rd runners in points right now, who are 1st and 3rd on track, Comstock and Vincent. But the average starts and average finishes of these guys. E.J. O'Rourke sent with an average start of 5.6, an average finish of 4.4. For Comstock, an average start of 4 and an average finish of 6.2. Dwayne Vincent, significantly the best qualifier out of all of these guys. Maybe even said disappointed with the 7th tonight because has an average start of a 3.4 and a finish of a 5.6. Them are about only 3 of maybe 5 drivers total that have created and at least started a significant amount of the races, not just 1 or 2 starts in this series, that have been able to get single-digit starts and finishes, and that's exactly what it takes, and that's why they have that ability to have a 25-point gap over a guy like Doug Roth, who's been consistent, but only has an average finish of about 15th.
Yeah, I mean that's what that consistency does right there, and we've seen it through the first 5 or so races, and we're seeing right now why these three are some of the best in the business, up in the top 7, doing what they need to do right now, and I'm starting to see these top 3 pull away some from that 4th place machine of Brian Macklin. They've got about a half a second or so gap from Dwayne Vincent back to the 30 of Macklin, so and I mean they're doing what they need to do right now. Vincent and Comstock are to try and close this gap to O'Rourke. And actually, I'm trying to do the quick math in my head, but I believe if the race keeps going the way it's going, this would actually hand the points lead to Comstock if O'Rourke were to finish about 5th or worse and Comstock were to win the race, lead some laps. So this is by far from over in the championship battle. These three are going to go right down to the wire, and I have a feeling this is going to tighten up pretty significantly at the end of this race tonight. Maybe see those three separated by 3-4 points. Battle for the lead down the front straightaway, or I thought it was going to be a battle. Bobby Terrell, the 14, wanted to take a look to the inside. No dice there.
Yeah, that's not the first time he's kind of peeked out of line, hasn't been able to do it quite yet. You see the 9, though, is all over the back bumper of him. That's Dwayne Vincent. The 14 my doing is, although Terrell really hasn't had a key opportunity that he really beat that 20 machine off the corner, Comstock doing great on exit, all things considered, that he's got 2 guys breathing down his back right now. His fact that he's staying consistent. The 14, even though he may not be there, Jacob, you see, looks to the inside. There's still a little bit of a gap there. Tries to get the 20 to bite. Either convince David Comstock that he's there, make that 20 give you the room, and then assert yourself in that position, or even by just consistently stepping out of line, keeping his eyes busy in that mirror, almost forcing a mistake, which is not the easy thing to do out of a veteran driver like David Comstock, but all strategies that the 14 can be implementing here, although early on, still wants that top spot because the 14 wouldn't mind some bonus points himself.
Not at all. I mean, they're still fighting for pride here in this championship. And how about the surge off turn 4? What a run to the inside did Bobby Terrell get. I mean, it just looked like Comstock was tied to a post right there. Terrell to the inside, Comstock drifts up high, and we're going to have our second lead change of the evening, I believe. Comstock trying to fight back on that outside lane using the launch towards turn number 3, but Terrell right there using the short lane around this racetrack, and if he can get another run like he did off turn 4 last time, and he's going to do it right here, Bobby Terrell's going to go back to the point of this race here at Homestead.
And you see the 14 comes up, he's going to make contact, the 20 in the fence. David Comstock was just trying to inch his way up, and it was a little bit of a hesitation. Terrell did not immediately jump up, Jacob. He just kind of trailed his way up. It actually made small contact, the 20 in the fence, and now it's the 9 of Dwayne Vincent to the bottom. He wants to make the inside work. That's now the battle for the lead. It appears that the inside line better in 3 and 4 than it is in 1 and 2 because Terrell was able to clear Comstock out of that time for 4, and that's the same way that we saw in the initial start of the race that our pole sitter at that time was able to defend. So it looks like inside a little bit better in 3 and 4 as a comparison to 1 and 2, but so far the bottom appears to be the place to be, and that's why you see the 20 follow suit. He'll follow that 9 car, and that's going to slide Bobby Terrell back to 3rd.
Yeah, and how about the 3rd lead change of this race? Dwayne Vincent was 3rd last time by. He was 1st this time by, and all 3 were within 1/10 of a second of each other, and look who that's allowed to be able to close back up to this battle for the lead. Brian Macklin, the dive bomb and the slide job in turns 3 and 4. You'd think we're talking about dirt track racing the way these guys are going at it here on that far end of the speedway, but now it's allowed Macklin to go back to 3rd. Dwayne Vincent, David Comstock be able to build a little bit of a gap here, and now the 9 and the 20 going away as they're side-by-side, wheel-to-wheel. Macklin with the crossover for 3rd on, or rather a Terrell with the crossover for 3rd on Macklin.
And Terrell went right back at him, and they got a little bit close a few times in 1 and 2. You see the 14 trying to hold it down and was unable to replicate the run that he got on the bottom when he was put in the move on David Comstock earlier, and Brian V. Macklin's going to be able to get to that top 3. And before these guys started fighting, and they were all single file, they were pulling away nearly with a second back to Brian Macklin and company, who were 3rd on back. Now you see that Terrell, he has to worry about Dan Murray. Once they got fighting, the 30 to 55, even the 11 of Jonathan Cadell really got up on the wheel, closed these guys down. Now that the top guy's single file, looks like Vincent Comstock's starting to inch away. They're 7/10 to the good over Macklin, who was just able to get around Terrell. So now that 30 FedEx Express entry has a little bit of a pocket We'll see what he's able to do in comparison to lap times with Vincent and Comstock. But so far, the two guys that have led this race up front and are so far not necessarily dominating, but appear to be very strong, that Napa entry and the Monster entry, are the two that are trying to chase down EJ O'Rourke, who, after starting on the outside of row 2, Jacob, in 4th position, has slid back to 7th and is kind of stuck there.
He is kind of stuck there right now, just trying to see what happens here over the next couple of laps. And O'Rourke not really going anywhere, but he's not losing any ground either. So that's the thing we're going to be keeping our eyes on. Right now, 21 laps going in the books, so we're quickly coming up on the 1/5 portion of this race from Homestead Miami Speedway. Still a long, long way to go, though. 104 laps still to be run here in South Florida. Right now, we're going to go side by side for a brief moment, and we'll continue to watch this battle for the lead. We'll be back with more, though, from Homestead Miami Speedway in a moment. Dwayne Vincent leads, David Comstock, Brian Macklin, Bobby Terrell, and Dan Murray. You're watching the RSR Icebreaker Winter Series here on LSRTV.
Simulated racing can be awesome, but it can also be kind of a free-for-all. Interestingly, auto racing faced the same problem in its earlier days. Whether it was on the back roads, the beaches, or the city streets, the racing was fun. But there was always a certain level of chaos and danger, until some folks came along and put some order to all of this. Stuff like official racetracks, regulations about weight and equipment, and enforcement of standards. That's what gave us high-speed excitement, fast-paced action, and photo finishes. That's when racing became racing. The guys over at iRacing.com have made the same transformation in the world of sim racing. Sure, they've got the most accurate tracks and realistic cars out there, but that's just the start. See, iRacing analyzes the performance and results of each driver in every race, so you can be sure you're always placed in races where the competition will be tight, and that those reckless drivers who ruin it for us all are kept in the pits. Not to mention that with over 45,000 active members already in their vast community, you can find races day and night, so you can always get in on the action. You can even join a league of your favorite series. And since updates are always automatic, you don't have to worry about software and can focus on the track. Zip up your fire suit and check out iRacing.com.
Welcome back to LSRTV. Jacob Seelman, Evan Basoko here in the broadcast booth as we cover round 6 of 8 for the RSR Icebreaker Winter Series at Homestead Miami Speedway. And if you're just joining us, Dwayne Vincent right now, the third different leader of this race. Bobby Terrell and David Comstock have taken time at the front of the field so far today, and it's been kind of exciting. We've had a 3 or 4 car Hornet's Nest at the front of the field, and it's right now, Evan, about a 4-car breakaway because Bobby Terrell, Macklin, Comstock, and Vincent have really pulled away. They've put 3.5 seconds on points leader E.J. O'Rourke, who's finally dispatched Jonathan Cadell to move into the top 5, but it's a pretty hefty battle back there right now between O'Rourke, Dan Murray, Scott Simley's joined the fray in 7th, Cadell, and even Garrett Atwell back there in 9th. It's a good 5-car battle right now.
Yeah, this race has almost been divided in a way that people are ready to right now, kind of in groups or sections on the track. Still sitting 32 strong out of the 33 drivers that started this race. Again, Ronnie Potts, who was scheduled to start 30th, was not there for the start and thought he may have been starting from pit road, but did not make the race. It appears that he will not start tonight after scoring 27th fastest in the practice session and would have had to take a provisional to get 30th in the qualifying. He's out, as well as the 41 at Nathan Little. Believe he had some connection issues earlier on, reconnected just before the grid, and has since received the throughput fallen to an unacceptable level. So that's going to bring a short end to the 41's night at Nathan Little, who started 18th and was doing a solid job of picking off spot by spot there early on. Looks like he'll be finishing 33rd tonight. But those top 4 that are pulling away, impressed right now by Dwayne Vincent. Can't say you're surprised by it when you look at the practice times. These guys sitting 1st through 4th right now were 2nd, 5th, 6th, and 1st respectively. Vincent missed that qual lap just a little bit with a 32.78, still faster than what I could have put down, but he got a 7 on that one, was able to come back up through the field and made very quick work. Comstock's not letting him get away, Macklin's not letting Comstock get away, but I think Bobby Terrell might have some unfinished business with that 30 machine because he's starting to close back in and could make this a fight for that podium spot.
Oh, what are you saying, Evan, that you're not as good as these guys?
Absolutely. I mean, well, on a good no. No, I'd be lucky to get one of those P30 provisionals, let's say.
On that note, we want to talk about good guys here, Evan. And I'm looking at 2 guys right there in the top 3. The 20 machine, David Comstock. The 30 of Brian Macklin. And then you look a little further back, the 23 of E.J. O'Rourke. What do all those guys have in common? They're part of the Cody Bias Racing stable. And, these guys, Evan, we've seen them so fast over the last 2 or 3 months across every facet of this sim. Not just the RSR series, the Full Throttle Cup series, or even the Icebreaker Winter series, the NASCAR iRacing.com Pro series. I mean, everything these guys run in, they've been absolutely flawless in here of late, and they're showing it again tonight. 3 cars in the top 5.
And it all started back at the tail end of the Full Throttle Cup Series season in 2014. Comstock came in, and all the CBR entries have really set it up in these B cars. Going to look forward to see how many entries they would field possibly in the 2015 FTC as well as possible B car truck series. Not going to say a lot on that, but I mean, they have been extremely strong, and a lot of these guys on RSR from across the teams have kind of been splitting up their duties. I know we've had an off week from Daytona, but a lot of these guys have been putting in a lot of laps at the Daytona road course as well in preparation for the iRacing 24-hour Daytona. That one on the 31st, I believe. A lot of the RSR guys, a lot of CBR guys as well, entering teams into the 01. So they've kind of had to split their duties a little bit over these last few weeks. Obviously, a lot of preparation for those races, but still running strong at Homestead. This track is not easy to run. We saw them trying to find where that balance was at the end of practice, really pushing it off the corner, almost making some passing scenarios, seeing how they'd be able to duck down and spin it out a lot. That's key, though, to know where that line you can cross and what you can't cross is to when we get down to these latter stages. We're like this, down at 5 to go. Don't expect them to be single file like they are for now. Bobby Terrell still trying to get 3rd, took a peek to the inside on Macklin in 3 about 2-3 laps ago. Can't get the job done, and the top 4 still stay pretty evenly spread out with about a car length between each.
For now, that's true, but we just saw the 4th lead change of this race a minute or 2 ago. Comstock back to the point, and the question, I look at this and go, okay, what do these 4 guys have that the rest of the field doesn't have? I expect E.J. O'Rourke, at the very least, to be up with the likes of Macklin and Comstock, his 2 teammates, but O'Rourke, it just seems like, is a little bit off tonight. I mean, these 4 guys, I don't know what it is, but it seems like every single week here over this Icebreaker Winter Series, they've just had a little bit more. I mean, they're 5 seconds in hand over the rest of the field right now. They're just putting a waxing on them, Evan, and it surprises me to think that these 4 are just that good.
Yeah, and he's been extremely consistent. Again, I talked about where those guys in the top 4 started as opposed to where they sit now. The undeniable fact about them is they have speed, and that's why they're now 5 seconds to the good over E.J. O'Rourke. He is in clean air for the most part. Nobody in front of him until he gets Sotero, but he is still having to worry about a Dan Murray, a Scott Sinley, Garrett Atwell, Jonathan Cadell, the next 4 cars behind him, who are not all that far off of him, only within about 7/10 of that number 23 machine. So O'Rourke really can't just settle down here because he has to keep an eye on those people behind him. Now, he has been able to go back. I know he said he kind of got stuck in 7th spot. Now back up to 5th after starting 4th. So he is limiting that gap on the racetrack and what would be a points gap, but still, he's not up there with Comstock and Vincent, who are getting those bonus points for leading laps and possibly leading the most laps, as that 20 has gone back to the point right now after starting back in 3rd position. So just a little bit off. But if only my off nights were running in front of Dan Murray and Scott Silney and those guys. And the lap times they're running are so close right now that the 23, he's not missing a lot, but he is just slightly off. And he's got to figure something out in comparison to those guys because he's lost about 3/10 in the last 2 circuits. So really got to try to compare and contrast there. Maybe talk to some of his teammates just a little bit off. And that's even the hardest part, Jacob. Not that he's not getting blown out of the water, but it's very frustrating to be just a tad off, to see them slowly inch away from you. You know you're so close, and the 23 just needs to figure out what that small adjustment is and has quite a little bit of time still. This race closing down to 75 laps to go at about 8 or so, and we take lap 50. So although it is moving quite along very well on this long green flag opening stretch, just a little bit off that O'Rourke has to adjust to, and he can be right back on par with those guys.
Yeah, and, as we're watching this stretch right now and the leader's getting ready to get into a little bit of traffic, Evan, it starts to call into question something that I'm looking at, a possibility here. Could we go green flag all the way through this race? I mean, this field is spread out enough now as we watch the 14 of Bobby Terrell go and grab 3rd away from Brian Macklin, finally able to make that move. Is the field spread out enough that we could go? Whoa! Macklin gave him a shot right there, and that could have easily been the caution that I thought we might not have. Wow.
The 30 gave a shot to the left rear of Bobby Terrell. Again, Terrell was the one making aggressive moves on the left rear quarter panel of that 30 before he was able to pass him for the spot. Not the only contact that we've seen up front. A while ago, Dwayne Vincent gave a little bit of a nudge to the back of David Comstock. Nothing in the quarter panel area, but gave a little bit of a scratch to the Camaro decal in the center of that back bumper. I believe that was through 1 and 2. A good 20 or 15 laps ago, albeit. But although they are single file, although they're in a way working together because they continue to go 5.6 seconds now away from 5th on back, it can never hurt to be one more spot up, and I feel like the 30 may be sliding off just a tad bit and not said much because he's only 8/10 off right now at Comstock, but Terrell's been able to get around him, and he was slowly sliding back from Dwayne Vincent when he was in 3rd, which allowed Bobby Terrell to make a couple goes at him. The top guy started to mix it up. We all group back into what was about a car length between them right now, but slowly but surely, I think Comstock and Vincent inching and inching away, and when I say inching, I'm meaning by hundredths of a second per lap. But it is getting a little bit more fanned out up front as the 30 takes it way high out of 4.
High he goes, and trying to make something happen right here, but losing some time as we see Bobby Terrell start to check back in a little bit closer to the lead. And how about Comstock? He washed way up the racetrack right then, and that allows Dwayne Vincent to look to the inside for just a brief moment, and Comstock looked really loose right there through turns 1 and 2 the last time by. Maybe the handling on this long green flag run, Evan, finally starting to fall away a little bit.
And the 30, it looks like that Brian Macklin is starting to give it a little bit more out of 4. He's up in the light stuff in comparison to Bobby Terrell. Not much of a difference lap time-wise. Macklin was able to close in on this collective group in front of him just a tad bit. But, I mean, really, these guys have something over 6th or 5th on back because EJ O'Rourke, the gmercer.com entry, now 6 seconds out of it. And, again, that's only tenths per lap. But at a track like the Homestead Miami Speedway in the third-to-last race with their championships on the line, those tenths are pretty painful to take.
Yeah, it is painful to take, and we got ours. Whoa, boy, one car almost sliding through trying to make the commitment to pit road. So green flag pit stops very easily underway, Evan, and it's not easy, this pit road at Homestead, Miami, because you're really trying to whoa up about the center of turns 3 and 4, going from close to 180 miles an hour to about 55 or so in a matter of 4 or 5 seconds, and the banking doesn't do a whole lot to slow up your speed. You really got to jam on the brakes.
And as well, the access roads, we've seen quite a collective of interesting things happen at this Homestead Miami Speedway in the past, and I do believe it was with RSR one time where we had 2 guys in the championship, but again, Homestead tends to be the final race in the season for this current group here. It's going to be at Las Vegas for a double points night in about 2 weeks. There was one time here at Homestead where we had our 2 leaders get taken out by a lap car who lost it on the access road. That's very thin there. It's obviously flat. The grass, we could easily see somebody lose it trying to get on and off.
Brian Macklin coming down pit road, Evan, the 30 bailing out, and he is going to slide into his stall and see what they can do to make that 30 car a little bit better.
Well, he got that thing sideways coming down into pit road, had to low it down, and right at those cones was going about 45 miles an hour, so was safe as he had to get it down to 50, but just nearly locked him up, kicked that back end out to the right, and we do anticipate, most likely at least, a 4-tire stop, gas, and go, as he looks like to cut this race into a 2-stop race at this point. 30 enters the stall, overshoots it a little bit. That combined with the bobble could cost him some time, and right side tires going up on a FedEx Express entry who gives up that top 5 spot. Crew over to the left. It's going to be a 4-tire stop, gas, and go for Brian Macklin.
All right, so Macklin's done, and now we wait to see when the rest of this battle for the lead comes down pit road. I would pretty soon expect that these front 3 would not be waiting too long because tires are so crucial here at Homestead. They do give up a lot, Evan, and if you stay out and give up too much time, you're going to be in trouble once the pit stops cycle through.
It's always a debate that I've thought of is, do you lose more time under a green flag stop or a yellow? Now, obviously, under yellow, you make a mistake. You can go a lot deeper back in the pack, but you're still close together on that restart. Now, in a green flag stretch like this, a race that has a pretty fair amount of cars at 33 entries, you don't anticipate, but you know, some of the lighter fields that RSR has had in the past, maybe with the Asphalt Assault Series late at Homestead when only a few cars were in that championship, a race that could go green all the way as Bobby Terrell ducks down pit road from P3 for his service. A race like this could very easily go green. These are the treacherous points in the race, though, and you got guys pitting, people at different speeds with different tires out there trying to mix and mingle and try to find their spots back in line for this next stint is when things can get very interesting, and it's something that we got to worry about. Dwayne Vincent has a little bit of a run-in with a lap machine in the 97 to Joshua Morgan, and Vincent not too happy over the radio at the 97, tried to go low to get out of his way, and just as Dwayne Vincent tried to get low to go around that 97, and things like that, cars on different speeds, different cycles right now as we work through these green flag stops that can cause cautions.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the big thing. You don't want to see a caution right now. That's the last thing any of these leaders want to see during this middle of the cycle of pit stops, because it can throw a huge wrench into the works. And I'm surprised that Comstock is staying out as long as he is. This is starting to puzzle me a little bit. Comstock and Vincent, I don't know. I'm not sure that I like this all too much.
In theory, that on the short pit strategy is going to make you up time because you're going to be obviously running faster laps once you get back out there, and in comparison to a guy like a David Comstock who's running his slowest laps of the race on the old tires. Right at the start of this, he was running in the range of about 33.2s on average. Right now, David Comstock out there 34s. 8/10 of a second is a pretty significant fall off, and you think for the guys in the top 4 that have already come down pit road, if he's losing 4/10 a lap, albeit the 20 car's going to be able to get back out there, and then he'll have the faster car by just a little bit. Not sure if it would worth it, and I'd agree with you, Jacob, on that one, because although he will be faster, at that point he would have to try to pass them and could possibly use up his tires, obviously doing so, not as much riding around. So Comstock is staying out at the moment, and we'll have to see how it plays out, but a lot of guys like the short pit strategy for that exact reason.
Oh, isn't this what makes it fun, though, Evan? The different strategies, trying to see how it's going to play out. This is where we get all these different people going, hey, this is going to work. No, hey, this is going to work. And it's always a question of what's going to pay off at the end of 125 laps. That's when we're going to be saying, hey, they played their cards right. And I'm waiting to see. I keep waiting to see if we're going to get that 20 or the 9 coming in. And caution, there it is. That throws everything into a loop, and it's exactly what we were talking about. You didn't want to see it. Well, there it is.
And that's another reason why you could argue that the strategy of staying out can play to your advantage. And we saw it pretty much change the difference of the race in Cora last night. Is that a late race caution in that one, but in the middle of the cycle of pit stops, brings out a yellow. And trying to find the cause of this one, keeping an eye on the pace car when those lights went on, and trying to look around the racetrack. Again, we did have a lot of people at different speeds. Can't find the incident myself, but something triggered those caution lights, and we're going to slow them down with 15 on the lead lap. So everybody else, Stephen Herring, Macklin, Ed Williams Jr., Bobby Terrell, they're going to have to get a wave around, and they will now be behind the people that stayed out, who will be on fresher tires.
That's going to be the catch right here. So Comstock and Vincent get a big break right now, and they'll lead the lead lap train onto pit road to try and get some service on those machines. The two dominant cars headed all the way to the far end of pit road. Evan, let's cover the stops, especially for that 20. The leader, David Comstock, he pulls his car to the stall, and I'm assuming 4 tires and fuel for all these front runners.
Comstock actually overshot it again. We saw that happen to Macklin when he came down, and again, should see, and it is going to be a 4-tire stop, gas and go for Comstock, and doesn't look like anybody else playing much of a strategy card. Dwayne Vincent, though, the 9 machine with a better stop, did not overshoot it. He's capitalizing, and he'll be able to pass that number 20 car, and now the fact that we were talking about this staying out strategy might not work, these guys are going to be now on newer tires and in front of everybody else.
We're scanning all the footage, Evan, and I still can't find it. Our crack camera team can't find it. I have no idea what's drawing the yellow lights right here. I can't say the phantom debris words because iRacing's not that good, but what?
It looks like it might be Wyatt Wolf in the 56 car. This is actually, I talked about on the access road, Jacob was coming down, and this is in 3 and 4, I do believe, and is coming down for service, overcooks it just a little bit back on lap 56, went around, and was actually out in the sand there, got back going rather quickly. Very interesting to see iRacing throw that, because I've seen times at the speedway somebody be the inside wall, and because they're not on the racing surface, no caution be thrown. We knew it wasn't the RSR officials because we would be able to see that notification, so it was not that machine. But, I mean, he was around in the sand trap, essentially, on the inside of corner number 4, and well off the racing surface, but nonetheless, he caused the caution, or iRacing determined that that was the cause of it, and, you know, it can be that way sometimes with the system, but that what brings out the yellow flag on this one, and we found the culprit.
Evan, I'll throw you a shocker. We're almost halfway. Brian Macklin just took his car to the garage.
He had some damage on that number 30, and it happened under a caution flag period. Trying to see what happened. He got hit under caution and may have just left in frustration. We were slowing down. Let's try to get this up. Lap 57 for the 30 car. Coming out of 4, Jacob. Checking up and gets hit from behind by the number 65 of Ed Williams Jr. It causes some right rear damage on that 30 machine. Now again, just speculation because the next time down pit road, came down, pulled into a stall. We know it wasn't an issue like we saw with Nathan Little because he manually disconnected from the sim. So an interesting turn of events in that one. Caution's going to be delayed once again up at the front of this field as everybody tries to get cycled back around, but not expecting Macklin to do that. Again, may have easily been frustrated by what happened there at a 4 or some other circumstance outside of the sim here, but he's out of the race, and that opens up one of those top spots for more guys battling for points right now. Top 3 are the top 3 in the championship. Funny how that works out.
Right? It's very funny how that works out, but it's not at all unexpected because it's, that's what we've come to expect in this Icebreaker series.
So Macklin's gone. Now we put Vincent, Comstock, O'Rourke to the top 3 spots, and again, no coincidence that they just happen to be there. Looking forward, though, on these next races. Next week, it'll be in Fontana, California at Auto Club Speedway. A week after that, in the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, double points on the line for that one. Love that.
Because you know what that means, Evan? Anything can happen.
And probably will happen the way things tend to go with this series.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very, very true.
And again, and we talk about limiting mistakes and being able to capitalize, and with the double points, which a great idea. Throw that on top of a very short 8-race schedule, and you got yourself a series, my friend. But that one, a lot of pressure as well. Could be very similar to tonight. Again, another 1.5-mile track. That Speedway is one of the trial circuits. 125 laps, so same distance. We go to the big D-shaped oval in Fontana, but at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway in 2 weeks, that one definitely going to be circled. I love the F1-esque per se double points concept to that one. That one will be probably quite exciting.
Oh, I think it'll be quite exciting, Evan, because, throw another quite in just for good measure. But right now, I think what's going to be exciting is gearing up for another restart, because you've got Dwayne Vincent, David Comstock, and E.J. O'Rourke in the top 3 positions with a host of new players behind them. Scott Simley's up there in the Budweiser entry. You've got Sean Brightsman, Brennan Mercer, William Kemp. This one's about to be good. Green flag back in the air. American Ethanol restart at lap 62, going to be 63 right now. So we're working the halfway lap right here. Dwayne Vincent to the point. Comstock slots in second. Simley trying to go for third with E.J. O'Rourke. That's the battle, and actually give it to Simley off turn number 2. So new player up front as O'Rourke looks to the bottom of the racetrack.
And the 23 knows that almost very similar to a super speedway race, that the field gets spread out. There's a fine line between being the last car in a pack and the lead car in a pack. And that number 23 was the lead car in the wrong pack that last time. Ended up finding himself 5+ seconds back. Does not want to get far enough away from that 4 to allow these guys in front of him to pull away, the guys behind him to kind of stay stuck on him. And he knows that, and he knows how crucial these restarts up is, where you can make and gain, or lose for that matter, a lot of spots. And tried to go right back at the 4, a crossover that we saw David Comstock do rather aggressively early on in the race, and 23 thought about it, did not have the run necessary, but still not giving up, and he's doing a good job of hanging up in the top 4, who appear to be breaking away. They're half a second to the good. How about Brennan Mercer? Look at that pickup. Started 24th, 19 to the good right now, sits 5th.
And Mercer actually, I think, has a little bit of
97's
speed.
Around.
Hello, yellow back out second time. So much for my theory that we were going to go caution free, because our cautions breed cautions, and we're just past halfway. And you called it, Evan, right there. The 97 machine, Josh Morgan, the one who's getting squirreled up in this one, and that's going to draw the yellow flag for the second time. Slow the field here with 65 laps complete. Dwayne Vincent, your leader, and I say it's a pretty good time to take a look through the field and get a look at our mid-race leaderboard, sponsored by Gary Mercer Trucking, Evan.
The 51, Scott Saunders, causes that 97, and the fence stepped up the hill. Corner 4 was one of those treacherous places that we saw these guys messing with in the practice session. But Dwayne Vincent does lead this race at the halfway point. Comstock still second. Now Scott Simley trying to play possibly spoiler in this, and the first forward in the field. sits third on track at the moment. And then you got Brendan Mercer back in fifth. We talked about O'Rourke, who sits fourth right now. Sixth place to William Kemp. Very quiet, but that number 22, Miller White Ford, we'll call him, up from 17th to 6th position. You got Son Breitzman, who started outside the top 10. He's 7th, and he appears to be the first car that'll bring us down pit road. Matt Lacrosse appears to follow down in the 21. Mike Montesi in 9th is coming down, and 10th, Doug Roth, the 43, coming down as well. So top 6 or so staying out. A couple of more drivers who want to play a little bit of a gamble staying out to gain some track position, but from 6th on back, the majority of those guys coming in for some service fresh off of a yellow that was just a few laps ago.
I mean, why not? I mean, get a chance to make your car a little bit better. I would take it if I were them.
Yeah, a lot of those guys, again, had already completed their service, were back out on track for about 10 laps, and they were actually behind a cycle of tires because when the yellow flew out, everybody that was out there on track came back down. Some of those guys had to take a wave around. So trying to get back on the tire game per se, and they'll have a slight advantage. But the top 5, real no change there. Everybody staying out. But again, 7th on back right now. Sean Breitzman looks like he may be one of the first cars off of pit road. Again, about 2 or 3 of them staying out from behind there, trying to gain some track position, and you had to know it was going to come into this race at some point. Now we're going to have cars on nothing, cars on 2, cars on 4, and you got to love it when it's like that.
Oh, yeah, that's when it gets really, really exciting. Tire strategies at Homestead. Who could ask for more than that?
Homestead always seems to bring out the strategy. I remember in the Pro Series, Fayash threw quite a crazy strategy out there, got a podium out of it. So something about this racetrack brings the creative juices flowing from those pit crews and the crew chiefs up on top of the box into fruition, and we'll see how they play out halfway now through this race. And because of that long green flag run there to get this one kicked off, this race is kind of blown by at the opening portion. Now, they do say cautions breed cautions. We're off of 2 of them back-to-back. Still quite an opportunity to get some green in here until we get down to those latter stages with, not saying we're going to get some yellows, but typically end up at a couple of late race dashes and shootouts. So we'll have to see how it shakes out. But Homestead always produces exciting and, again, the strategic racing in these races.
Very strategic, and they're getting ready to gear up for another one. Evan, what are you looking for on this restart? Because we're getting down to crunch time now. Soon it'll be 50 laps to go. It's almost go time.
It's the super speedway rule that E.J. O'Rourke was, don't be the first car of a pack, in theory, unless you're the leader, be the back of it, because the 23, again, was 5 seconds back, leading the 4 guys in front of him who were tucked up all over his bumper, but was dropping like a rock. Stick with that lead pack if you're up there, and even if it counts for, positions 6 through 9, or 10 through 14, or 15 through 18, spots like that, stay with those guys in front of you. Don't let them get away from you, and try to be able to stick with a couple of guys that you can slowly work your way on and try to make some passes. Light's still on the pace car, but one thing you got to keep in mind is the way that we talked about it from the top of the show, Jacob. The practice time so close, the qualifying time so close, the racing in translating to that has been very close with these packs of cars throughout the field. You can work 17, in upwards of 20 laps to get one position. We saw Bobby Terrell have to try a few times before he was able to make a move on Brian Macklin, but one mistake can cost you twice as many, if not more, the spots they had to fight for. So limiting mistakes, again, still key, although it's later on in the race. And these cars, again, even though you might be just riding around at some points earlier in this race, taking it quote-unquote easy, you're so close to that line that you can't cross. It's very simple for a lot of these drivers to try to give it a little bit too much. Once this race comes down to the end, try to give it a little bit more than they can, trying to get that extra spot, that extra run, easily put yourself at a fence or take yourself out of the race. So you got to keep your head screwed on straight as well as being aggressive.
Yeah, and aggressive is something that's going to be big on this restart. I'm keeping an eye on the Budweiser machine, the 4, Scott Simley. He restarts so 3rd, Evan. I think he may have something to play with.
Yeah, the 4 machine, you got Brendan Mercer again, who's picked up 19 positions. He's kind of been quiet, was 21st in practice, 24th in qualifying. Caution, or restart rather, going to be delayed one more lap as the lights go back in the pace car. Trouble under caution for the 97 of Joshua Morgan. He's wrecked in 3.
Q, huh?
He just bobbled into 3. Doesn't look like, I don't know if something broke or I think he was trying to get that thing wound down, and because of the damage, when he got hard on the brakes to not hit anybody, it just went right around on him, and he hit the fence there in 3.
Alrighty then, a la Juan Pablo Montoya at Daytona a bit, Evan. That was You know, you talk about bizarre. I think that wins the bizarre moment of the award, or bizarre moment of the night award. Wow, you can tell it's getting late.
Yeah, that car made pretty much the exact movement that Montoya's car did. It was kind of strange. The small bobbled and into the fence. Good thing it was a safer barrier there and not the non-existent safety cruise on iRacing. But that's what's going to delay it. And iRacing automatically recognizing that delay. And its lights now back off. And this restart will now bring us crossing over from lap 70 over to 71. And will put us in that pocket of 55 laps to go in this race.
I think it's going to get good right here. Vincent, Comstock, O'Rourke, Simley going to be your top four on the restart. Simley actually going to restart to the inside of row number 2 in that third spot. Keep an eye on Brennan Mercer back there in 5th. And how about the 10 of Rich Jett? That's actually a sub tonight in for John Abbott, Rich Jett is. He's doing a really nice job up there in the top 10. Green flag back in the air. Jett doesn't go. On the other hand, Simley and some of these other boys, they're going. And Scott Simley trying to make the dive to the inside on E.J. O'Rourke. That's the battle for third. Almost a little bit of contact. I think there was contact in 2.
Got real close on that one into 23, either recognizing that the 4 was sliding up a little bit, but kind of jumped up the hill a little bit, and we ran side by side. Trouble back in 1 and 2. Caution at 93. Feldi Sarabia in 29th position, 2 laps down. It looks like the Texaco entry is around, coming off of the corner there, and appears to be an unassisted spin. Looks like he was side by side with the 51 of Saunders, and just bobbled and lost it. And now we've seen turn 4 and turn 2. This racetrack, again, starting to push it a little bit more, especially in those side-by-side battles when you're on the bottom and you got to give it a little bit more wheel to maintain that positioning, spin you out real quickly. And we've seen that there at the 93 round. Nobody else involved doesn't get in the fence. Going to get some new tires on that machine, but nonetheless, back under yellow. Now that's going to be 3 of them back to back to back.
Yeah, and because it's 3 of them back to back to back, it gives us a good time to catch our breath, and we'll go side by side, take a break, and come back with more of the RSR Icebreaker Winter Series in just a moment. You're watching Real Sim Racing live on LSRTV.
Simulated racing can be awesome, but it can also be kind of a free-for-all. Interestingly, auto racing faced the same problem in its earlier days. Whether it was on the back roads, the beaches, or the city streets, the racing was fun, but there was always a certain level of chaos and danger, until some folks came along and put some order to all of this. Stuff like official racetracks, regulations about weight and equipment, and enforcement of standards. That's what gave us high-speed excitement, fast-paced action, and photo finishes. That's when racing became racing. The guys over at iRacing.com have made the same transformation in the world of sim racing. Sure, they've got the most accurate tracks and realistic cars out there, but that's just the start. See, iRacing analyzes the performance and results of each driver in every race, so you can be sure you're always placed in races where the competition will be tight, and that those reckless drivers who ruin it for us all are kept in the pits. Not to mention that with over 45,000 active members already in their vast community, you can find races day and night, so you can always get in on the action. You can even join a league of your favorite series. And since updates are always automatic, you don't have to worry about software and can focus on the track. Zip up your fire suit and check out iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Homestead Miami Speedway and racing the Icebreaker Winter Series, round 6 of 8 here in South Florida. Jacob Seelman and Evan Basoko on top of the broadcast booth as we're looking from high above, Evan, and getting ready, winding down this race. About 50 laps to go now, and I'm excited. The third caution of this race, 5 lead changes, going to be about 13, 14 caution laps by the time we go back to green. Had a long green flag stint to start this race, and now it's getting broken up just a little bit, so we're seeing a little bit of scrambling right now and some new players at the front of this field. It's making for an exciting run to the finish here.
And with 50 laps to go, that only means that these guys are going to be giving it more. The intensity is going to go up, which means better stuff for us. But this is still far from over. I don't think we're done yet. Dwayne Vincent can't settle in because it's about to get real good.
It is about to get real good. It's actually going to be 50 laps on the nose to go when we go back to green flag racing. Pace car heads for pit road. Dwayne Vincent, American Ethanol, green flag, back in the air. Vincent gets the jump. Scott Simley to the outside, going to power past DJ O'Rourke, and the battle's going to be on for fourth between O'Rourke and Sean Brightsman. 47 topside, 23 down low. They're wheel to wheel for that fourth position, and I think O'Rourke is going to end up getting it off turn number 2 and almost cuts dead across the nose of Brightsman. That was tight. 3 wide back in the pack.
And no more give and a lot more take. And oh, in the fence is the 10 car, the 21 as well. Rich Jett and Matt Lacrosse slowed up in 3 and 4 after that 3 wide ran out of room. And again, the safer barrier in 3 collects 2 more cars. They're able to keep it in the fence, get back down and get back going out of 4. Everybody else 2 wide still getting through and around him. Now side by side in the top 5. The 47 is Sean Brightsman. One of the cars trying to play spoilers sideways, and he's 15 degrees sideways out of 2.
Oh, we got one more in the fence. They were 3 wide back in the pack, and I think that looked like maybe the 60 of John Hickman Jr. just got a piece of it. Garrett Atwell made a bonsai move through turns 1 and 2, the 19 machine, and it didn't pay off at all for that 60. It was William Kempf, Atwell, and John Hickman, and Hickman got the worst of it.
And that 60 machine slow now. He'll drop back from what was 13th to 18th position, and single file in this pack. A little bit of contact between the 19 and the 29 back for 9th position. Other than that, things single filed for the moment, at least inside of the top 10. Got some action back for 13th. The 24 car is on the inside. That's Stefan Marinak trying to make a move on the 2 of J. Randall Watkins. Ralph Nolan Jr. and the Energizer entry has already been able to get around that 2 this lap, and the 24 is able to as well. So the Miller Genuine draft entry a little slow as Matt Lacrosse took a peek to the inside as well. So going backwards right now is J. Randall Watkins.
And as we continue to watch that, we can also watch the battle for the lead. The top 4 right now really trying to gap themselves from Sean Brightsman, Mike Montesi, and the rest of the field. They've got about 5 car lengths now separating them, but Dwayne Vincent got a great run on this last restart, Evan. Pulled 3 car lengths on David Comstock, and Comstock's in the 20, not able to get back to him right now. They're gapped just a little bit.
24 is one of those guys that's still moving forward. Marinak to the inside on Ralph Nolan Jr. So trying to get back up to where he started, his 12th position. He's 14th. He'll take 13th right now. And again, you were talking about things inside the top 5 right now. Everybody's spread out by like 2 to 4 car lengths between all of these guys before we get back to 9th, which is where we start stacking up. You got guys like Brendan Mercer, Dan Murray, Jimmy North, who's having a good run in the 84 after a long drought of rough luck, and still not out of the clear yet, but the 84 right now trying to knock on the door of a top 10. All these guys are all over each other, but right now Dwayne Vincent, if he gets that good restart, hold it onto the top spot right now. Comstock, though, starting to track him back down, tracing that line coming out of 2, and it's about 2 car lengths between 9 and 20.
Yeah, and it's getting a little bit smaller every lap, especially through turns 1 and 2, where Comstock has been so good all night long. Not as much through turns 3 and 4 as that 20 machine. The 9 pulls away from him just a little bit, but David Comstock right there. And, how about Scott Simley hanging tough in that 3rd position? And my question really is, Evan, if these two get to battling up front, I think the 4 still has a shot at this tonight.
And something they have to keep in mind is, again, and we saw it, it's a good point there with Scott Simley, is we were starting to spread out with the top 4 about 30 laps into that opening run. As soon as we got a challenge for the top spot, those guys behind him sucked right back up to them, and immediately another battle was ensuing. So because of that, Scott Simley can't really feel dejected. He's only 6/10 out of it, well in the range that as soon as David Comstock, and I don't want to say if, because if that 20 gets to him, he is going to try something. He's not going to let just Dwayne Vincent walk away and win this race, knowing that they both need these bonus points for that win so crucially down to these final 3 races of this. They're going to battle at some point unless Dwayne Vincent is able to get out and get quite a good defensive gap over David Comstock. Scott Simley just needs to be there to have a shot at it.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's that battle that's going to make all the difference, because when you're side by side, it does scrub off a lot of speed, and Comstock just scrubbed off a lot of speed last time by, down the back straightaway into turn 3, got really squirrely there for just a minute, and it was enough to allow Vincent to pull about another half car length. But how about how he charges that corner in 1 and 2, just makes up so much time in the center of the corner and gets almost right back to the bumper of the 9, and then down the back straightaway through 3 and 4, it's the other way around. Vincent's so good and just stretches it back out.
And we've seen early on when we were dabbing with who's going to be better on the bottom or the high side, we saw that the bottom may be just a slight tad better in 3 and 4 than it is in 1 and 2. That's the way it appeared in those opening laps of the race. Now that we move forward, it's obviously going to translate that, although you may say that you're tracing that guy in front of you, not going to be dead on with that. Each driver has a little bit of a different line, and you'll see that because the corners, although they are both progressively banked at 18 and 20 degrees, no way that they are dead on accurate. And you're seeing that. You see the 20 rides a little bit lower than Dwayne Vincent right that time out of 4. Close it in now, about 1.5 car lengths at the top spot. The gap is going to come down to 0.15 of it for the top spot, and it was that time by that we crossed over and took 40 laps to go in this one. So really getting down to crunch time now, and a little bit of a mistake by Comstock there in turns 1 and 2, loses some time.
Yeah, he did lose some time right there. I was a little surprised. He washed way up the racetrack, but we saw that from the 20 earlier on in this race, Evan. He wasn't as good the longer we got into a run, so just trying to keep an eye on it. But I don't know. If the handle goes away, I think the 9 has the best car on the racetrack in the long run so far. So I don't know. And there he goes to the high side again.
He's trying right now, but he knows that maybe what he's doing and what he's been doing all race long is not working. And we talked about it when we were discussing EJ O'Rourke, who once again finds himself the first car outside of that immediate battle for the lead position, 1.2 seconds back and forth. We talked about that he is slower than that, but he was just a tad off. Similar situation that Comstock could feel. We said that O'Rourke may be able to adjust that throughout the race, be able to find what he was missing. Doesn't say that even though you're the fastest car in the beginning, you can't still find a little bit more. And maybe Dwayne Vincent picking up a little bit is forcing David Comstock to play his cards and sort of change things up a little bit, seeing if he can find something else that works to be able to get it back up there. Despite that mistake in 1 and 2, cost him a lot of time right back to where he was, just about 1.5 to 2 car lengths off that back bumper of the 9 machine of Dwayne Vincent, and well within striking distance if Vincent were to bobble at any point.
That's exactly right. And Simley actually cut into that gap and cut into it a lot by the leaders last time by. He was actually a 10th quicker than both Comstock and Dwayne Vincent that time. It's down to half a second. The Budweiser machine is coming. I told you, Evan, about 20 laps ago to keep an eye on that 4 machine. He's starting to come to life. He could be the spoiler tonight.
And it almost looked like he had lost it on that restart because he did not get going, and instead of being where he was, cost himself and dropped back to 4th position. 3rd right now, and has been sitting, stalking if you may, 0.6 of a second back. It's where he sits right now. But once Comstock and Vincent, they start to give a little bit more. Vincent, although as a driver you want to say, I'm not looking in my mirror, you're looking forward, he knows that 20 machine is there. He sees him, either unless that or he's got his mirror turned off. He can see that 20 in his peripherals at all times. He knows the 20 is there, and that's where we come back to talking about Comstock. As we discussed earlier in the race, something that Bobby Terrell was trying to do is even force a mistake on the 9. Not all over him right now as Comstock, but constantly moving around, doing different things, keeping Dwayne Vincent's eyes busy, either making that 9 machine forcing him into an error or trying to trick him into thinking that that 20 has a spot, like we saw Terrell do earlier, where even though he wasn't quite there, continuously sticking that nose of the line to the inside. There's so many different things that David Comstock can do to try to affect Dwayne Vincent, and once these guys start playing games, if Scott Simley can stay locked on and keep those eyes on the back bumper, that 20 machine can really begin to close in ground, and it looks like he's slowly picking up time on him.
Is slowly picking up. As one is slowly picking up time. Did Scott Simley just catch the fence right there, Evan? He lost a lot of momentum in a hurry down that front straightaway. I almost think he got loose and may have tapped it off 4.
Would it be the first time we've seen corner number 3 really be the Achilles heel of a lot of guys so far tonight? Doesn't look like he caught the fence, did ride it quite close into the corner, and maybe just didn't get the arc into one that he wanted to because it looked like it was a small bobble there. He did lose some time, lost a 10th total after picking up a little bit, and this time we talked about, he was knocking off hundredth by hundredth, lap in and lap out to get it down to a 6.0, dropped to a 0.7, now back to a 6.4, that gap between him and David Comstock and Dwayne Vincent, who battle for the top spot right now. Can't make mistakes, and the 4 car, again, well in a position to try to steal this one. EJ O'Rourke, again, I talked about you cannot be that first car in that second pack. He is, and because of that, he is all over the place with these guys. The 47 of Sean Brightsman through and clear to 4th. He brings Bobby Terrell, and now the 23 car back in P6.
Wow. I didn't expect to see O'Rourke fall off as much as he is right now. That's really surprising to me, Evan. I mean, he's kind of been the odd man out in the CBR stable all night long. I mean, we saw the 30 when he was on the racetrack and not damaged be so good. We saw the 20 be really good, but O'Rourke's just, I don't know what he's missing tonight, but he's missing something, and it's really got him in a bit of a hole right now with coming up on 31 laps to go this time by.
And the frustrating part is, again, he's not off by a lot, but he's just missing it by that slightest bit, which is going to be driving him crazy. You can guarantee that he's just that far off. But again, I talked about, and you asked me what a key was. He says you can't have guys behind you fighting. Well, now the 47 and the 14 have been able to pass him. They're fighting in front of him, so he's going to be able to get another shot at these guys. You see the huge run out of 2 that he's able to get. Wants to get back up to at least 4th position, but I don't see that 23 car being able to find a whole lot of speed and being able to make up, ironically enough, 2.3 seconds at this point to Dwayne Vincent and David Comstock to be able to get this if we stay green. This time 30 to go for race leaders.
Yeah, 30 to go, and Scott Simley's coming again, and the question becomes now, Evan, I know we saw some caution shuffle up here for the last little while, but now it begs the question here. I believe all these leaders have to see one more pit stop, do they not?
We saw them, the way they came in right on about lap 50. It was going to be a 2-stop race, and under those cycle of yellows, we saw a couple people trickling in the back, but I do believe that our leaders still need a visit for service and could present another opportunity for some of them to try to short pit, somebody to stay out, stretch it, and, you know, take maybe less fuel and 2 tires or a gas and go, anything crazy like that. But I don't think they're done, which is going to put these guys into a rather small pocket of opportunity of about 25 laps here once we hit lap 100 left in this race to try to determine if you're going to try to make a strategy call and go out of sequence with somebody to figure out what your plan is going to be quite soon.
So if you're sitting in the driver's seat, what do you do?
Well, we were both bagging on the strategy of staying out, and then there was a yellow, and it worked out perfectly fine for those guys. We've seen times in the past, I referenced the Pro Series, we saw Fayash stay out and gain a whole lot, stretching that fuel to a top 3 finish, but I think right now, nothing crazy. The way the tire fall-off is at 0.8 of a second, you got to look at it if you're Dwayne Vincent. I feel like if somebody makes a 2-tire call, they could win this because of the limited amount of laps that are left in this if somebody goes with it. But I definitely think that no tires is well out of the question. But a 2-tire call, because there's a relatively low number of laps, if you were coming down and you had to make still half a fuel run, I think you're going to lose all of that time in a 2-tire call. But I think a guy like a Simley, a Terrell, and O'Rourke could probably maybe try to roll the dice and go with 2 tires and see how it works.
You know what? I think if somebody's going to do it, I think it's the 4 of Simley. I think he's the one, because he's been able to keep up with the leaders right here. I think he could make that gamble, and if we stayed green, I think it would pay off. That 4 car's been good here over the long run. He's been real consistent, and I think they could gamble and maybe steal this win.
In theory, if you look at the numbers and where everybody sits right here, he would have the least to lose in this. Our leaders right now, again, those top 3 that we've kind of highlighted all race long, if they try to gamble and it does not work, you could throw away, if you're a Comstock, you try to throw away second place points for, 5th, 6th place points. A lot on the line for somebody in that position to make that strategy call, so I'd agree with you. A guy like a Simley or even a Bobby Terrell, 2.6 back, would be in a prime position to try to make that call.
I was just going to say, hey, look, Bobby Terrell's back in the top 5.
But they don't call him Here Comes Bobby for no reason, and there's races where we see that 14 up front, but he kind of likes to be quiet. Was pole sitter tonight, was fastest in practice, so those are quite some loud numbers to get this one kicked off. But kind of slid back to 7th or 8th position. We haven't really talked about him since then. Creeping into the picture again, late in the going, and he's faster than our leaders quite a bit right now, 2.5 seconds back, but his lap times are about 5/100ths or half a tenth faster than Vincent and Comstock's right now. He could, again, be one of those cars that's in a position, though, if we have a yellow, would be right back up there. But I don't think we get a yellow. I don't think he's going to make up 2.5 seconds unless he rolls the dice and makes that strategy call, which we have seen Terrell do in the past.
I would. I totally would if I were Bobby Terrell. He's got nothing to lose.
Yeah, Terrell, Simley, and as well Terrell, Simley, and even the Sean Brightsman, 3.1 back. These are the guys that are up inside the top 6 that have not a lot to lose. It would be a pretty, and obviously, you're making a pretty big call to make that strategy call in the first place. But again, it's almost how bad do you want it, and is it worth the risk? It's risk versus reward. Go back to a guy like a David Comstock, who's 0.4 of a second back. You get second place, you've led laps, possibly in the running to get most laps led. Dwayne Vincent, however, in these latter stages, may be taking over that battle. But do you risk throwing away the 40-some-odd points for second place in comparison to 6th? Because that could, in theory, benefit you and you might win the race, or it costs you 6-7 points, however many positions you lose, and that could be the difference between 1st or 2nd in the championship.
It could be, because of how tight this championship battle has been right now. And I keep watching, and Bobby Terrell is really eating into this gap. It's down to 2.2 seconds now for the 14 to the 9. So Terrell is coming, and Evan, 5 laps ago I'd have said there's no way he could make up 2.6 seconds. But now all of a sudden, he's hit the afterburners on that Muscle Milk Chevrolet, and Terrell's coming.
And here comes Bobby working around the lap traffic of the number 97 car, yielding high as Joshua Morgan. No trouble there. It will cost Terrell a little bit because the 97 was up against
No, it
the
won't.
fence.
He just picked up another 10th.
Okay, a little bit in comparison to what his last lap time was, but still, even with that, picks up 1/10 as opposed to 2. Still faster than Vincent, faster than Comstock, faster than Simley. 2.1 seconds in 20 laps.
It's gonna, at that clock, it's gonna be close. He would catch him coming to the white just about.
And it's crazy the way the lap times just so happen to play right into account with the way this race is shaken out in the latter stages. The top 3 aren't going anywhere in comparison to each other. Terrell lost the 10th the last time by with a 33.667. He's been running 5.5s, 5.6s these laps prior, so a little bit of a slower lap there for the 14, drops him back to 2.2. So if these guys do indeed need to come down pit road, he can't afford many more laps of those ones.
No, he can't. Right now, we're 20 laps to go here from Homestead. That's going to allow us this final opportunity to slide away for a brief moment. We'll go side by side, come back for the finish from Homestead Miami Speedway. This is LSRTV and the RSR Icebreaker Winter Series. We'll be back. Welcome back to LSRTV, the closing laps here tonight from Homestead Miami Speedway, round 6 of 8 for the RSR Icebreaker Winter Series. Just now, 13 laps to go from Homestead Miami Speedway, and we've got a battle for the lead in turn number 1. We come right back to the 20 of David Comstock and the 9 of Dwayne Vincent. The nitrous button has been hit in that Monster Energy Chevrolet. They're wheel-to-wheel down the back straightaway for the lead. Vincent to the outside. Comstock down low, trying to make the charge into turn number 3. This is the battle for the lead, Evan, and it's right what we expected it to be here with 12 laps to go. Caution!
Comstock had it by half a car length as the yellow flag flies. Trouble in corner 3. Heavy smoke pouring for the back of somebody's entry. Everybody has them way woed down. I see the 47 down on the apron is going to be the Sean Brightsman entry, who gets turned as the 23 tries to go to the inside. A last-second inside move on behalf of E.J. O'Rourke sends the 47 sideways. A spectacular save by Brightsman to keep it pointed the right direction does trigger a yellow, and that last about 15 seconds changed this whole race because now David Comstock will be in the top spot. Pit stops under this cycle for the final time tonight. Who pulls a strategy card?
I guess we're about to find out, because I don't know.
I don't know about this. If it was on the green, again, I think a lot of these could have worked into it. But if you go with 2 tires, you're not going to have much of a buffer, I wouldn't feel, compared to these guys. A lot of eyes, though, on Comstock. Bobby Terrell could get back into this race because he has that number 1 pit stall. May help him out at the scoring line at the end of pit road. Maybe get a 1 or 2 spots. We'll have to see.
All right, so this is what it comes down to. This final pit stop, David Comstock, the leader, is in. Gonna be 4 tires. We don't know what it's gonna be. Right side's going up on the Monster Energy Chevrolet. 2 tires. It's gonna be a 4-tire pit stop for David Comstock. 2 tires for Dwayne Vincent. He's gonna pull the strategy call. Garrett Atwell's gonna pull the strategy call. Stefan Marinak, the 24. Comstock, the first one on 4 tires in 3rd. The question is gonna be, does he have enough time?
That's exactly what we thought could happen, and it is. Garrett Atwell, who, by the way, was almost in the fence 4 laps ago, and he and Jimmy North got together at a 2. Jimmy slid up a little bit, got into the left side of Garrett's machine, and got him a little bit squirrely, kept it out of the fence. Now on that 2-tire call up in this race, but Dwayne Vincent with the 2-tire call, he'll be up and leading this race. You also have other people that took 2 tires that did not beat some of the guys on 4 out, so they're kind of stuck in a hornet's nest where there's fast cars in front of them on fresh Goodyears and guys behind them as well. A nice mix that we got here going on what's going to go down, but all eyes will be now on Dwayne Vincent, who we said there's a lot that can go wrong if you make this strategy call in the championship. There's guys behind him that aren't necessarily going to be that patient if that 2 tires really does make a major difference. We haven't seen anybody try it under these circumstances really tonight. We'll have to see if that 9 car is holding anybody up, or if Dwayne Vincent, we know he's going to wield that Napa Auto Parts Chevy entry, what he can do with it, because if he's just a tad off, those people behind him aren't going to be too patient, and it could get really exciting here, and really should shake things up if it really comes down to it. This restart going to be just shy, I think, of about 7 to go, so we will have a small opportunity for a quick yellow and then a restart. But again, no green white checkers, caution inside of 4 to go. That's it, we're done.
I'll lay you odds that's what the 9's banking on. Dwayne's banking on the fact that we'll get a caution inside 4 to go.
Restarts are going to be key for him here, because although he's on 2 tires, and we have seen quite a few people have trouble on the restarts on both the inside and the outside lane throughout the course of this race, the key for him is just going to need to make it to turn 1 with nobody inside or outside of you. And then you said he can bank on a yellow if he gets the restart, which is the biggest thing he'll have going for him right now, is being able to control this field. If he's able to get a good restart, it can make his life a lot easier, because we saw the caution flew just as Comstock was passing Dwayne in corner 1. The 9 machine could easily be banking on that. Wouldn't hurt him by any means, but restarts is going to be so crucial for that Napa camp as the lights go off for the pace car, and this restart coming up at lap 118.
All right, Evan, so who do you like for this one?
I want to go with Comstock, but I'm not trusting these yellows because of it's not a straight up. We got guys on no tires, the guys on 2, and the guys on 4. We got people with 2 tires in the middle of 4 tires, so it's not like these guys are going to be able to just blow by a lot of them. I don't feel like we're going to get enough green for Comstock to take a shot at it. I feel like Dwayne Vincent is sitting in the right spot right now, but I'm going to go with that 20 machine of David Comstock.
I'm not even going to go with anybody in the top 4. I like the Muscle Milk machine, Evan. I think Bobby Terrell's still got something left to play with in that 14.
Well, him and that 20 are going to be bumper to bumper as the first guys on 4 fresh Goodyears and pacing through 3. Let's see how this one shakes out. Possibly final restart of the race.
Very possibly. We're about to find out what it's going to be here with 117 complete when they get the American Ethanol green flag. Just going to be the 4th caution of this race wrapping up. Pace car heads for pit road. Vincent bringing them down really slowly, trying to back up this field. Green flag in the air. We're back. Oh!
What a save, but he's 4 wide now. Oh, no.
Oh boy, that was Garrett Atwell who didn't go on the restart. That was the gap that Dwayne Vincent was trying to get, but it's not going to be a gap that I think will win him this race. Dwayne Vincent, about 3 car lengths in hand. I think he's going to have too long to wait. He needed that to be a caution right there, and it wasn't. They're scrambling. They're 3 wide, back about
4
15.
wide, a whole lot of it. This is not good. A lot of contact. 43, 95. We're bouncing off each other for 18th. But so far, so good, at least in the perspective of our race leader. Dwayne Vincent might have wanted a yellow though and all of that, because Comstock has now a clear shot in 3 car lengths is what he's got to work with.
He's got 3 car lengths to work with. He's only got 7 laps to do it in, and he's trying to close in. Bobby Terrell's trying to close in. E.J. O'Rourke's trying to close in. This is going to be a madhouse fighting for the win. 6 laps to go when they get back to the stripe. Can Vincent hold on? Can Comstock try to win it?
Bobby Terrell's been able to get through to 3rd position. E.J. O'Rourke back up to 4th. Those two are all over each other at a quarter number 4, but find themselves 7/10 of a second back from Dwayne Vincent and David Comstock, who sit 1-2 right now. Comstock got a car length the last time by. If he's able to do that throughout these next 6 laps, he'll win it by 2 car lengths. However, catching somebody very different from completing that pass, that's what he's got to do, and Dwayne Vincent is not going to roll over.
If you're Dwayne Vincent right now, Evan, you're backing up that corner. You're trying to keep the guy behind you from getting a run to the inside in order to pass you. Vincent washes up a little bit right here, but he's doing everything he can right now. 5 laps to go.
And here's with that 20. Again, we saw David Comstock try to get a little bit creative for about a 5-lap stretch before these most recent about 2 yellows, I think. He was all over Jacob. He was trying to go higher. He was trying to go lower, trying to figure something else out. Dwayne Vincent, though, giving it everything he's got, relying on those 2 right side tires to get him this race. And so far, so good. That last time around actually gained a little bit of time on David Comstock. This time, going to take lap number 122, and 4 laps remain in this one. But the 9 car still nowhere near out of the clear. And again, we've talked about it. If these 2 get side by side, here comes Bobby Terrell. Right now, P3, 4/10 out.
And he's faster than both of them right now. So Terrell's not out of it, but Comstock, he's almost overdriving the corner there right now. In that 20 machine, he about socked the wall off turn 4 the last time by.
E.J. O'Rourke slided back just a little bit. That's 0.8 of a second, but Bobby Terrell's going to be here
Look
at
at
about
Terrell.
2 to go. It's 3 to go this time around the 20. Trying to find a little bit extra. It's a car length between 1 and 2. 3 more back to the 14 of Bobby Terrell. Again, as soon as that 20 to 19, if they get side by side, coupled with the fact that the 14 is the fastest car, and he may be able to just blow by these guys. But this one, the key is, will it stay green? As still quite a bit of battling going on. 9th, actually all the way 8th place through 12th, separated by less than a second. Nothing guaranteed yet, but 2 to go this next time around, and the top 3 within 2/10 now. Throw a blanket over them.
Oh, yeah. By the way, before we get to 2 to go, can I give a call to the 84, Evan? Jimmy North up to 6th place, having a fantastic run. Vincent washes high off turn 4. 2 laps to go. Double popsicle sticks in the air. Can Vincent hold on? It is going to be tight. To the outside goes Comstock for the lead.
We saw him try the high side earlier in the race, and what did he do? He crossed them over at a 2. Can he get the same job done? He wants that 20 degrees versus the 18, and he gets a run all the way up to the back bumper, to the inside. Is there room? Dwayne Vincent shuts the door on attempt number 1, and just about 2 miles left in this one as the white flag this time by.
Oh, bailout. This one's going to come all the way down to the wire. One more time around 1.5 miles to go at Homestead, Miami. They head for 1. Evan Pasoko towards you. Vincent, Comstock, they're 3 they're 3 single file right now in turn 1.
And only a car length at 20 with that run at a 2. He's tried it so many times tonight. Bobbles.
He got loose.
On. He's got a nose there. Can he get clear? No, to the inside goes Bobby Terrell. 20's got to throw the block. We're going to be side by side for the top spot. No, the 9 with the block. Final time in 3 and 4.
Oh, Comstock's going to give him a shot right there. He's to the bumper. Vincent up the racetrack. They come off turn 4. Wheel to wheel for the win. No, Dwayne Vincent to the checkered flag. He'll get the win at Homestead, Miami. Comstock second. Bobby Terrell third. The final margin, 78 1,000ths of a second. Wow.
And he did everything he needed to. The 20 went to the bottom twice, tried the crossover, gave him a nudge, which was our last resort for the Monster Energy Chevrolet entry, and still, Dwayne Vincent is able to hang on to it and wins it by, again, as you said, less than a tenth at 7/178 1,000ths of a second. Bobby Terrell, maybe about 2 or 3 laps short when it's all said and done, comes home 2/10 out of it with the podium spot. E.J. O'Rourke forward, but the biggest thing is Dwayne Vincent and David Comstock, who entered this evening behind E.J. O'Rourke in points, finished in front of him, albeit not by a lot, but slowly inching forward, which makes things just that much more tight. Rolling into Fontana, and then after that, a double points race. You thought that it was close now, only getting closer and closer together, with now only 2 races to go outside of tonight.
Oh, it's gonna be good. And when we come back, the Gary Mercer Trucking post-race show, we'll hear from the top 3 finishers and talk to Dwayne Vincent about a wild run and holding off to the checkered flag. Vincent burns it down on the front straightaway. He gets to celebrate the Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet in Victory Lane. We'll talk with him in just a few moments. Right now, we'll take care of some business here on LSRTV, and the post-race show is next from Homestead Miami Speedway. This is the RSR Icebreaker Winter Series. Welcome back to Homestead Miami Speedway. Post-race underway for round 6 of 8 in the RSR Icebreaker Winter Series. Wrapping it up here from South Florida. Jacob Seelman, Evan Pasoko for LSRTV. Getting ready to head down trackside to talk with some of our top finishers tonight. Dwayne Vincent grabbing the win in a wild finish, an 8-lap dash to the checkered flag, Evan, and I didn't think Two Tires was going to win this race, but Dwayne Vincent threw every block in the book to keep David Comstock behind him, and 78 1,000ths was the difference.
Yeah, at the end, they were all staggered. It almost looked like they were stopped for a photo shoot at the end of that one. But that was it. And all those guys separated by 0.2 of a second came down to those final closing laps. And I don't know if it's about this racetrack or the progressive banking, the fact that it's a 1.5 straight-up oval, but it always brings out some exciting racing. We saw a long green flag stretch, and I said during that 50-lap green flag run, not saying it's going to happen, but somehow, some way, These races always come down to it. We saw the no tires. We saw the 2 tires. We saw fuel possibly come into it as a caution flew in the middle of pit stops at one point in the race. But at the end of the day, I feel like the fastest car in the end won it. And Dwayne Vincent and David Comstock, albeit only 2 and 3 spots in front of VJ O'Rourke points leader, going to pick some ground up. And the gap going to be headed into the final 2. Dwayne Vincent by 1 point over EJ O'Rourke as the new championship leader. And Comstock now third, 3 off of the top spot. So that much closer with 2 to go.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit exciting, and I'm trackside now, Evan. Third place tonight, a hard-fought third place for Bobby Terrell. He was the fastest car on the racetrack at the closing laps, and Bobby, I really thought you were going to have a shot to blow by both Vincent and Comstock there at the end. You got trapped on that one green flag run before the last caution, about 6th, 7th place, and you finally got clear of that mess back there outside the top 5 and was able to work your way back forward. Just didn't look like things fell your way there at the end.
Oh, no. I mean, I had damage. I don't know if y'all noticed it or not, but I had a little bit of damage. I'm not happy with my finish, but I'll take it. I mean, it was eventful for sure, you know. A lot of adversity there to come back, and, you know, like I said, I'll take it.
I know you'll take it. I know it's never the finish you want in these B cars because you're so dominant. But after a night like you had, you were certainly one of the favorites. What was the difference there at the end? Was there anything else you could have done differently, maybe to have a shot at stealing this one away?
I think if I hadn't had damage, I got forced into the wall once, and I mean, I did have damage. The car didn't drive the same after that, but I mean, it wasn't bad, but I could just tell it wasn't going as quick as it needed to be. You know, it just seemed like it just lost just a tick.
I know for you, just 2 races to go next week, going to Fontana, which is always one of the most exciting tracks on this sim. How tough is it going to be now with just 2 races to go? I know the championship's a little bit out of reach for you, but trying to get wins these last 2, how do you think Fontana's going to stack up for you?
I have no idea because I'm being honest. I've never raced there.
Well, hey, at least he's honest, Bobby. That I guess it'll be a new experience, a little bit fun for you next week. So a new challenge in these B cars. I know you can't do it by yourself, and I know there's always people to thank. Who makes it happen for you in the 14 team?
Oh, I'd like to thank you guys up the booth and Real Sim Racing for putting this on, and all the admins. I appreciate it.
And we appreciate the compliment. And Bobby, we'll look forward to seeing you next week at Fontana, hopefully up in these top 3. Wish you the best of luck, and we'll see you next Monday.
All right, thanks.
That's Bobby Terrell, comes home third tonight. Evan, I believe you're now trackside catching up with our runner-up tonight, who literally did everything but turn Dwayne Vincent off turn 4 to win this race. David Comstock, this one's got to be tough to swallow, and Evan, you're down there with him.
Yeah, it came right down to the wire, as you said. It was a couple of moves to the inside. He was waving the back end of that machine left and right, covered at a 2, gave him the shot, and comes up 7/100ths of a second short tonight. It's going to be a P2 for David Comstock. David, you started third. You were up there the entire race through a caution in the middle of the pit stop strategy that kind of mixed things up between you and about the 3-4 other guys that you shared those top 5 spots with throughout the evening. Coming down to that late race shootout and a late race yellow, brought it down pit road. It was a 4-tire call, lined you up in third. Dwayne went with 2, and he just edged you out. What was the thought process going into that final cycle of stops, and how did it all play out?
Well, on that caution there, I just figured we had so many laps on the tires that 4 tires was just going to be the ultimate call to make. I didn't think 2 tires was going to be fast enough to hold off, and Dwayne drove the wheels off it and was able to hold me off. I got a couple runs on him, but I got to have respect and run him clean because we're fighting for the championship here.
You talk about the championship, came into this one tonight, obviously with 3 races to go. Look it up at EJ O'Rourke, 5 points. Now, you're going to move forward. In the end, you do drop to third, though. You now sit third in the championship, 3 points off of Dwayne Vincent, who was the new leader, and 2 back from EJ O'Rourke in second. 2 races to go, Fontana, followed by the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. That one going to be a double points night. But rolling forward to Auto Club in 1 week's time, the 2-mile D-shaped oval. What's the thought process going into there, and what is the team going to do, and what are you going to do to make sure that number 20 car is once again, like tonight, be in contention for that win, being able to lead laps and hoping to try to get yourself another step forward in the hunt for this championship, which is starting to come down to the end of this year?
Well, our goal is the next 2 races to just go out there and get as many points as you can. Win the race, lead the most laps, get pole, whatever we got to do. Just go out there, end result, win the race. If we can't get the most laps led, that's extra 3 bonus points anyway for winning the race. So we were 5 points back on the points net worth, and we came up 2 within it. So it doesn't matter who the leader is as long as we close ground within the points leader. I'm happy with that.
Consistency and not making mistakes. There were so many times this race when either you were all over the back of somebody or somebody was all over the back of you. And we saw people throughout this field have trouble off the corner, over driving it in, getting stuck in the fence, getting sideways off the corner. What did you have to do to keep yourself disciplined and try to really not think of those other guys around you and just run your race and be able to maintain the speed that you had throughout the course of a run?
Yeah, it was the start of the race. The car was free, especially off turn 4. So it was just managing the tires right from the get-go, and especially the right front after the run would go on, and the right front would start to overheat. So it was all about just making sure you take care of your tires, and we were able to do that when it came down towards the end of the green flag pit cycles. But wish we went green more, because the cautions, we come up to the lead and get to it, and then the caution would come out, and we wouldn't be as quick at the beginning of a run.
It's going to be a P2 when it's all said and done, and you gain 2 points. And now it is a 3-car battle within 3 points with 2 races to go. David, a solid run for you tonight. I know that you would have liked that extra position, but in the end, you're making headway with 2 races to go. Thanks for talking with us. Before we let you go, sponsors and shout-outs, everybody who makes this kind of a run possible for you and the number 20 Monster Energy Chevrolet.
We'd like to thank, of course, Moss Energy and Gary Mercer Trucking for sponsoring us every week, and I'd like to thank Cody Bice Racing for preparing our cars for the series.
All right, well, that is your second place finisher. Thanks for taking a moment to talk to us, David, and good luck rolling forward with 2 races to go. We expect to see that Monster Energy machine in contention as always.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you next week.
Jacob, that's it down here from pit road, and now up to victory lane, where Dwayne Vincent had the fight for this one. Picks up 6 spots. It's the biggest position game out of anybody in the top 4 when it's all said and done, and the 2-tire call worked. It got it done for him.
It did get it done for him. And down in Gatorade victory lane with a very happy Dwayne Vincent, the Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet makes it happen tonight. And Dwayne, I got to ask you there in those closing laps, I personally did not think 2 tires was going to be the call to win this race, and somehow you made it work there at the end. How did you hold off David there in the final laps? I know that last lap, he had a run and gave you a shot, and you were just able to hang on.
That's it. That's exactly it. Be honest with you, I didn't think that call was going to work either, man. But I thought there was going to be some cautions. I know on that restart, I think it was, I forgot who it was out there, maybe Atwell. I saw he kind of got loose on the stars, like, all right, that'll be a caution, but that didn't happen. And when that didn't happen, I was like, I'm a sitting duck, you know. But 2 tires, no fuel, and just drove the heck out of it. And I want to say I really appreciate David running me clean. He could have easily bumped me out the way and went for the win, but he raced me clean, and I really appreciate it, and I will return the favor.
It's been a clean battle between you and David this entire, really the entire season, and now it comes down to just 2 races to go. You take the points lead back tonight by 1 point, headed
Sweet.
to Fontana. Yeah, there you go. Headed to Fontana next week, and you and David, David, and EJ O'Rourke just separated by 3 points. How exciting is this battle between the 3 of you going to be down to the wire? Because you guys have been in the top 5 every single week.
It's going to be too darn exciting. It's going to be nail biting. I tell you that. But I'm looking forward to the challenge, man. Those guys race clean. It makes it fun and gives you something to look forward to, man. It's California's different. It's totally different than any other 1.5 or 2 mile that we ever run. So it's going to be interesting.
It's going to be very interesting. Second win of the season for you, Dwayne. I know it's not possible by yourself. You got people to thank. Who makes it happen for you in the 9 team?
Well, one thing, my buddy Ronnie Potts, he's been having some connection issues. I think he's going to have it solved tomorrow. But and all my buddies over at I want to say Fastlane, they've been helping me out in another series. I appreciate all their help. And all you guys at LSRTV, everybody at RSR, and we appreciate everything you guys do, man.
And we appreciate it. Dwayne, congratulations. Big win. Go celebrate with the crew, and we'll see you next Monday at Fontana.
Yes, sir. We'll be there. Thank you.
All right, that's Dwayne Vincent, and that's it from down here in Gatorade Victory Lane, Evan Pasoko. I'll throw it back upstairs to you. I believe somewhere up there we've got a Gary Mercer Trucking full field rundown to talk about.
It was a wild 125 laps as we predicted entering this one from the Homestead of Miami Speedway. We talked to the top 3, which featured Dwayne Vincent, David Comstock, and Bobby Terrell. E.J. O'Rourke, one of the big stories tonight. Although a P4 doesn't sound bad when you look at it, costs him the championship lead. Now finds himself only 1 point off of new championship leader Dwayne Vincent and 2 points in front of Comstock as the top 3 enter 35 to the good over 4th on back for these final 2 races. Scott Simley is able to fight for a P5 that was not easy because Jimmy North in the 84 had to fight and scrap him for it those final 2 laps and comes home in 6th as that 84 machine. Matt Lacrosse in 7th, and William Kemp would come home 8th, 9th to Stefan Marinak, and Brennan Mercer, 14 in the positive for the gmercer.com Camaro, finishes 10th.
Yeah, 11th tonight going to be the 31 machine. Mike Montesi was up in the top 10 for a long time tonight. Just finishes outside there at the checkered flag. Garrett Atwell, who restarted second on that late race restart, falls all the way back to 12th. Just couldn't make those 2 tires work. 13th to Dan Murray, who was in the top 5 for a lot of this race. 14th, Rich Jet. 15th, Sean Breitzman. J. Randall Watkins, 16th. 17th to Jonathan Cadell. 18th, Ralph Nolan Jr. 19th to Doug Roth. And rounding out the top 20, it's Billy Hendricks.
Stephen Herring, the final car to finish on the lead lap status, comes home in 21st position. 1 lap down, 22nd to Jason Lester. 3 cars that finished 2 laps out of it. 23rd, Wyatt Wolf. Joshua Morgan, 24th and 25th to Sherry Ann Mills. Everybody from here on out finished on the hook. 26th to John Higman Jr. Scott Saunders, 27th. 28th to Ed Williams Jr. LD Sarabia, 29th and 30th to Brian Macklin. Rounding through the final cars in this field, 31st, Jamie Moore. Roger Wagner, 32nd, and Nathan Little in 33rd.
Yeah, Ronnie Potts signed in tonight but did not start this event, so a 33-car field took the green flag. I believe we had just 4 cautions on tonight's race, and in the end it was Dwayne Vincent grabbing a definitely exciting victory, Evan. Any final thoughts from you as we wrap up from Homestead? I mean, I wish the championship finale was next week at Las Vegas, because you know what? If it were, or rather next week at Fontana instead of at Las Vegas, let me back up my sentence, because if it were, it would be win the race, win the title for any of those top 3 guys. I love it.
Yeah, that's where that double points is. I mean, you go into a normal race in a championship where the top 3 are separated by 3 points and first and second are 1 point. Essentially a tie if it ended in 1 week's time, and that could be a very crucial race. We thought going into this one, you know, it was already close enough. Okay, maybe somebody makes a mistake, they drop back. They only made it closer. You're running out of points, guys, to close this one in more, and it was a fantastic race. Auto Club is high speeds, which means high risk. A bobble there can cost you very greatly, and that one's going to be exciting as always, but it's going to paint a picture for that championship at Las Vegas, and who knows what kind of point scenario we're going to be talking about 1 week from right now.
And we'll see exactly that at Fontana, California next Monday night. But until then, we wrap up here from South Florida and want to wish congratulations again to the number 9 Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet of Dwayne Vincent, who takes the win tonight at Homestead, Miami. Next week, we're at California, going California dreaming. Until then, for LSRTV, my broadcast partner, Evan Pasoko, and our executive producer, Laura Lawson, I'm Jacob Seelman, reminding all you race fans out there to keep it off the wall until we meet again, and we'll see you next time on the web. Come to California with us next Monday night, 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Until then, good night.